Welcome to a special edition of our Buds podcast, Unmissable in Sport. I'm delighted to welcome a few special guests for the podcast this afternoon. And our upcoming sale on the 9th and 10th of June, we have the great pleasure of selling the Dave Matthews collection. Dave was the kit man at the Baggies at West Bromwich Albion for over 50 years. And joining me to discuss the sale and Dave himself is his two daughters, Alison and Claire. Welcome to the podcast, ladies. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
And also, we've got another special guest, although you've met him before, and not one of Dave's daughters, Adam Gascoigne, our COO. Adam, welcome to the podcast.
Hiya, great to be with you all. I've been looking forward to this for a while.
Now, well, I'm going to hand it over because obviously Adam being a big baggy, obviously knew Dave as well, and of course knows Claire and Alison very well. So I guess, Adam, we'll probably introduce Dave to everyone in the podcast, who he was, etc., etc.
Yeah, well, I mean, correct me if I get anything wrong, ladies, but I mean, my first memories of Dave at West Brom, my brother worked alongside Dave for quite a number of years. So used to go and watch them, indoctrinated into the Albion, having an older brother, and just always remember Dave being around the players' entrance door and with my brother. Just lots of fond memories, lots of little stories around Dave and the club. And as a kid growing up, you're always fascinated to be up close to the players. But I guess Claire and Alison, you absolutely had a ringside seat to that, didn't you?
Oh yes, definitely. To the point where we jokingly used to call Dad Uncle, because we hardly ever saw him, because obviously travelling with the team, working in football, you know, it's not just a job, it becomes your life. And sort of we had like the affectionate joke of sort of calling him Uncle, because that's about as much as we saw of him. But yeah, he always said that he turned his hobby into his job, and he wouldn't have changed it for the world.
And he was, so correct me if I'm wrong, but he joined the club straight from school, didn't he, when he was 15?
Yeah. He did, yes. He actually went for an interview wanting to become a groundsman. He was always very fond of doing sort of like groundsman type work. And at that point, they hadn't got an opening for anybody in that role, but they got an opening for an assistant kit man. So yes, he joined straight from school. And 51 years later, he was still there until he had to retire through ill health.
He knocked on the door, didn't he, and asked them, "Have you got any jobs?" And yeah, like Alison says, the rest was history.
And I should ask, was he a baggy from life, or just you came back because he got a job with them, or?
No, he was definitely a baggy through and through. He could see the floodlights from his bedroom window where they lived in Smethwick as a child. So he was definitely blue and white all the way through.
Amazing, absolutely amazing. And sorry, go ahead.
I seem to remember him telling me a story that he actually played as well a couple of times.
He did, yes. He was of youth YTS, as it was back then, age, and they were a player short, and they were playing away at Mansfield, and they roped Dad into playing. He could play football, but he obviously wasn't of professional level. So he played for them, for the youth team, away against Mansfield, and then by chance they were playing Mansfield again, and again they were short of a player, and he played for the youth team again. So for people at Mansfield, they obviously thought he was a regular, but he only ever played twice, and both were against Mansfield Town.
Oh,
No
that's
idea.
Fantastic to get a run out for you for your team. You must have been so chuffed with that.
No idea whether they actually won or not, though. whether he made a difference, probably not.
I'm sure he did. I'm sure he did.
He's obviously playing for
And
the
then,
jersey.
Absolutely.
yeah, that'd be nice. His own shirt. And then so over 2,000 games as kitman, I think, if the sums are correct, and 24 different managers or head coaches.
Yeah, it's some achievement, isn't it? That I
Yeah.
don't think many people have actually come close to serving under that many managers. Maybe a few are quite close, but whether they've actually served under 24, I don't know.
Well,
So,
in
yeah.
recent years, you could probably serve under 24 managers in about 3
Well,
years, couldn't you?
that's very true. Yeah, very true. He was quite
And
proud of the fact, I think. He always talked about it.
I guess what you obviously Claire and Alison, what was your first memories then of your dad being the kit man at West Brom? You know, what can you remember right from the start?
I think for me, I always remember us going to the Christmas parties and we'd be sat there with the players' children at the Christmas parties. And then I used to go, Alison obviously ended up working there in her younger adult years. But I used to go and watch the football and I'd sit in the laundry and all the players had come walking past and you'd have that smell of the stuff that they used to rub on the muscles. I can't remember what it's called now, but that's that really poignant smell, and that's sort of what sticks in my memory really about the early days when we used to go. He'd shuffle us out to sit in a random seat next to the dugout that was free. So it was really enjoyable and really nice memories that we'd got.
And did they ever have a say in the style of the kit? We see obviously every other seasons they'll be changing kit manufacturers. Did they ever be sent sort of samples? Say, us, what do you think of this, Dave? Was it was that sort of higher up the chain sort of thing?
I think ultimately he would be involved as part of a team of members of staff at West Brom to discuss the kit for the next season, and sort of from the ordering side of it. But it wasn't just him solely. It would be the head of retail, the manager maybe even had an input back then. My dad as kitman, obviously, and a few other different people, each bringing their own little bit to the party, sort of, and to make sure that everybody, certainly the players, were happy with what they were wearing.
And the early days, obviously, the numbers are all hand stitched on or stitched on. I guess they came like that. But later on, when there were the transfers, would your dad be putting the transfers on the shirts for names and numbers and things like that?
Yes, him, and he would do it, but also there was people, because there's obviously so many players and so many shirts. He would also staff in the club shop. They would also assist on the odd occasion to get them done within the time frame needed.
Because we get this quite often when shirts are not necessarily with your dad's collection, but we see it from time to time where shirts are queried because they're not a match, a player issue shirt. Mm-hmm. They're deemed to be a one from the club shop. But it was quite common, I understand, that if they were short of a shirt or something, last minute change on the morning of a game, it was run round to the shop and get a replica shirt made up with names and numbers for the player to play in.
Yeah, and one of the shirts that's up for auction is I believe a Sean Gregan, who played for the Albion back under the Gary Megson days, and his name was spelt incorrectly on the shirt. Obviously, I believe Sean went on to wear that shirt during the match, and it was only then established and people realised that the name was spelt wrong. And of course, Dad thought, right, after the match, kept hold of the shirt, got it signed by Sean, and of course, it's now in the auction. So that's in itself is a rarity for the wrong reasons of obviously his name was spelt incorrectly, but there's no other shirt like it.
And that's so typical of your dad. What a wonderful eye he had for the unusual, or just things that people pass by, the mundane things that nobody would take a second look at. That your dad thought, no, there's something in that. I'm going to tuck that away, keep that safe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whether it was sort of bottles that were used in the dressing room to celebrate something, photocopies of notes that they were using on the walls. It just had a wonderful eye for stuff, and that's reflected in the collection that we've got. I'm sure you saw the same in him. Some of the things he used to pick up.
Yeah, I think he saw the worth in the history of things, and I think that's why he sort of gathered up things that other people wouldn't. As Alison said, you've got those one-off shirts that nobody would have probably batted an eyelid about, but he thought, that's going to have some historical interest. And you're right. He had a very sort of shrewd eye for things. But just going back to the numbers on the back of the shirt, whether it's an interesting fact or not, but my grandma used to sew all the numbers and things onto the shirt in the early days before it was all printed. So it was a proper in-house family family thing. Everybody was involved. From my nan mending the shirts. Dad would bring them home and take them round to their house, and she would sit and mend all the shirts. Obviously, they're just probably thrown away or given to fans, ripped now. But my nan would do all the mending of them all.
At the start of the season, when the new shirts came and a big pile of numbers, she'd sit there and sew them all on.
That's right, Al, isn't it?
Yeah, and even to the point sometimes if the sponsor had changed on the front of the shirt, but the actual design of the shirt was still the same. She would sit there for hours on end, and often get myself and Claire in the school holidays sitting there unpicking the sponsor on the front of the shirt so that the new sponsor could then be sewn or printed onto it. So,
and that's amazing information. I mean, it really is. I mean, we don't get that level of because Adam and I, we can tell you some stories about match-worn shirts or not, as the case may be. For over the years we've done this, but to get that sort of level of detail that the shirts were brought home to family members, to change badges, unstitch, repair. I mean, it's fabulous knowledge for us, as I say, because we can then, obviously our thing here at any auction house, of course, is provenance. Proof that I mean, obviously selling over 100 lots of your dad's collection, from the vintage shirts up to the modern shirts, etc., sort of thing. So with and without numbers, with badges, not badges, etc. So to get that sort of detail, and for people to listen to both of you talk this through, I mean, it's gold dust, absolute gold dust for us, and it's just amazing. Fans can hear that it's not all quite as was, if this is a shirt from that game, but actually not, because it's, Dave took it to Claire or to Alison or to Grandma to repair. It's brilliant information. So it really is.
And those kits, when you talk about changing in sponsors, you'd often say that. And then at the end of the season, when they had to wear out the kit, they would then get passed down to the youth teams.
Mm-hmm.
And the reserve team, so they would unpick sponsors, logos, and those, and that's quite often you don't see those kind of shirts ever get to the open market because they've just been worn to death. They've gone another 5 or 6 years with kids teams playing in them.
Yeah. And I think if you spoke to any of the players of that era, Dad was quite frugal. And they'd go to him and ask him, "Oh, can we have this bit of kit, Dave?" And he'd be like, "No, you've had one, that's it." So he was. I don't think he'd get on very well this day and age, to be honest. He'd be a bit sort of. He'd be out on his ear, I think, not giving them kit to give away.
And again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I seem to remember when we got promoted to the Premier League for the first year, the first year in the Premier League after we got promotion with Gary Megson. And Megson told all the players that they weren't allowed to swap shirts with the opposition because he didn't want them putting all these Premier League superstars on a pedestal and chasing after them and trying to get their shirts. So there was a fine in place, I remember. I might have the numbers wrong, but I'm pretty much if their shirt went missing, if they swapped shirts, then they had to. The fine was a complete set of kit for the whole team. So whatever it would replace shirts, shorts, and socks for the entire team, that was the fine for the players. I'm not sure if you ever heard.
He was the kit man. He was in charge.
But that was what the manager put in place to stop the players swapping shirts.
And I think there was like you say, there was that element of them not feeling overawed by these Premiership players at the time, and that they were just as they'd got just as much right to be there as what any other player had got because they'd worked to get there. Yeah,
absolutely. Did your dad have any favourite managers? Was there anybody who was particularly close? Did I remember him? Was he? Did he used to do Ron Atkinson's garden as well?
Yeah, he did. He was close with Ron, and Ron had got a lovely house. But Dad was a keen gardener as well, and his lawns were second to none. So Ron asked him to go and to do his lawns for him because he wanted perfect, pristine lawns with the stripes in the lawns. And Dad and Ron sort of built up quite a nice sort of friendship. And Dad would sort of run around in sort of downtime and stuff. If Ron needed dropping off anywhere, then Dad would take him. And we'd often have Ron's Mercedes parked on the drive. And back in those days, it was sort of, wow, we've got a Mercedes on the drive.
And that was, of course, your dad's love of, going to the club for the first time. He's trying to get a job doing the grass. He never lost that love of of manicuring lawns and
no, absolutely. Like I think that was probably his primary passion, sort of the gardens and that sort of thing. Closely followed by obviously what he actually did end up doing at the Albion.
Yeah. And how often were you guys ask for shirts? Your dad works as a kit man at West Brom. Can I get a match shirt sort of thing? So was that a sort of daily thing you guys at school, or?
I think for Alison it was.
Well, in all fairness, I used to. If anybody said to me when I was at school, "Where does your dad work?" I was like, he works with kit, and I tried to sort of play it down a little bit for the fact that I knew that I probably would get bombarded with requests for shirts and autographs and everything. But he was infamous. He was always come up with like a signed shirt or a ball or something for the school Christmas fates or summer fates and everything, and everybody knew him and sort of loved him, and sort of especially Albion fans, but even just football fans in general, sort of because he was that type of person. If he could help somebody, he would do. And I sort of tried to play down his job a little bit when I was at school. As soon as anybody found out where he worked, it was like, oh, could you get me this? Could you get me that?
You'd certainly be popular, though.
Yes, yeah.
Now, I picked up something to start there. So that
you remember as a childhood.
Sorry, what was that again?
And are there any stories that particularly stand out for either of you around your dad and the club? Funny incidents or things that you remember?
I think the one thing that stands out for me is I can't remember the exact situation, but he'd really, really annoyed some of the players. I think he'd criticised their performance in a match or a game. And so they just decided they were going to leg in a wing him fully clothed, phone in pocket, wallet in pocket, into the big bath that they had in those days. And he went in, just so that they could shut him up, basically, I think.
Did it work? I bet it didn't.
No, I don't think it worked.
But that
I
was
think
the
if it-
relationship he had with them, that they felt comfortable enough, and he took
Yeah.
it in good part. And he was always, like most kit men at most clubs, probably. Players will go to them or talk to them, and it's somebody that's part of the first team setup, but they're obviously removed from being one of the coaching staff or medical staff. And quite often on a match day, you'd find players just taking 5-10 minutes out either before the game or after the game to just sit and chat with dad and about different things, either to take their mind off the game or sort of just
I think that's a key
going
part
over
of
what
the job.
happened.
Yeah.
And
I
so
think that's such a key. Sorry, Dave. I
was gonna say,
just
so-
think that's such a key part of the job that is often overlooked, because they're always your dad always cheerful, always a pleasure to talk to, and he's that kind of person that players can relate to. He understands what they're going through, and they can have a normal conversation, not like with a supporter or a fan that holds them up high. You can have a normal, everyday conversation, can't he? And the company that he keeps, and it's so often overlooked at that point. It's not just putting kit out or looking after it, or there's so much more to it.
And I think some of them, obviously being quite young and maybe away from home, probably saw him as a little bit of a sort of a confidant, a father figure, maybe.
Yeah.
And having that, like you say, having that support there from somebody, probably just help them in that moment, whatever it might have been.
And also the fact he'd been there so long, so players must have seen him, or speak to Dave. He'll sort you out, sort of thing. So you need anything. He's the guy who's been there since 15-year-old. He's 10, 20, 30, 40. You say over 50 years, man and boy at the club. So a father figure, as you say, no question, sort of thing. So
and it's such a an encyclopedic knowledge about the club. You can imagine managers coming in, and we talked earlier on about how many different managers he worked under. As soon as they come in, if you want to find out the lay of the land, you want to find things out about the club, then Dave's the first person you're going to talk to.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
And I sort of picked up at the start, Alison, you've followed in father's footsteps, or?
I did, yes. As it turned out, I sort of, my early memories of obviously dad working at West Brom was in the school holidays. If my mum was working and couldn't get childcare, then he would take either myself and Claire into the training ground or the stadium with him.
It's Spring Road, the old training ground. I remember.
So I'd sit there quietly and just sort of watch what was going on, and the amount of people. I never get overwrought by sort of football, even though sort of like I obviously work in football, because I feel that I've grown up with it for so many years. As I got older, I would sort of then help out in the office doing bits of admin to earn a little bit of extra cash. And then when I left college, the role I wanted to do, which was a medical secretary, there wasn't any jobs at the time so I sort of went and worked at West Brom, helping out in the office just as a bit of a stopgap. I've now been working in football since 1992. So yes, I'm well and truly following in my dad's footsteps by the looks of it. Although I've been at different clubs. I obviously started at West Brom and then moved on to different clubs since then. But
and that wouldn't have been a bad year to start at West Brom, 92.
No. Got obviously promoted back to obviously
Well,
sort of
would have been the first.
would have been
division,
a championship now, sort of from League 2 to League 1 at the time.
Yeah,
But
yeah. And the first year of the Premier League as well, 92.
Yes,
So a lot happening in football at that time.
I mean, what was it like? You know, your dad, obviously, when you promoted or demoted, you know, was it sort of, you know, obviously promotion's fantastic, but demotion going back down again, thinking, here we go again type thing. So, you know, for these.
I think because he worked in football for so long, he kept very level-headed. Enjoy the highs, but not too much. And obviously don't let the lows get you too low, and just sort of go along. Obviously the promotions, cup wins, you know, he embraced it with the best of them and celebrated. Obviously when they got relegated, he was as disappointed as the next Albion fan, but he didn't let it get to him too much, because otherwise
yeah, and so I had mentioned before, obviously, favourite manager. Did he have a favourite player? Did he think, you know, growing up, or sorry, not growing up, but, you know, his tenure at the Baggies, he would come back and say, listen, he's the greatest, no question about it, sort of thing?
Oh, I don't know. That's a difficult one. Wouldn't like to say. I know he was very close with a lot of the players from sort of like the older generation. He was very close with Jeff Astell and Bomber Brown and Ali Robb and all those sorts of people. He really got on well with Carnu as well when he was at the Albion.
Really? Yeah, that's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, Carney obviously did a lot for charity, and Dad helped him with that, trying to support his charities. So yeah, they got on well. But I think he got on well with everybody. Even if he had a crossword with somebody, it was forgotten about the next minute, and they just got on with things. You know, I mean, when he passed away, and we had so many lovely tributes, and you know, that really helped, because there wasn't sort of a negative word that anybody said. They said he was very frugal with his kit and things like that, but that was about it. You know, everybody had sort of positive, glowing recollections of their sort of contact with him.
No, I mean, I was reading up about your dad as well. I couldn't find anything negative about him. So the outpouring of emotions and good wishes, obviously, when he passed away, 2013. So, and you've held on to it quite a long time. You know, obviously that's what, nearly 13 years since your dad passed away, sort of thing. So,
yeah, I think we thought sort of now was the right time, really. You know, there's a lot of stuff there that a lot of other people can get a lot of pleasure out of, and you know, for us to just hang on to it, it didn't feel right, and we felt comfortable enough now, and Mom was comfortable enough to let it go. So that's why we decided to do the auction now.
You know, well, let me sort of tell about it. So just for, you know, put some, I guess, meat in the bone. So we've got over 100 lots of Dave Matthews kit, and you know, we get some amazing vintage shirts. I mean, I had the good pleasure of cataloguing this collection, and when I opened the boxes of the shirts, the blue and white shirts from the 60s that had never been worn, the beautiful red numbers on it, I thought, wow, amazing, absolutely fantastic. So I was sort of rattling through those. And then I'll let you talk about some others in a minute, but a couple of ones, non obviously, baggies will be the Diego Forlan sort of red United shirt, sort of random one in there. Don Howe, up the Football League shirt as well. So did you know Don back in the day, or to get that shirt?
I mean,
yes.
Don played for West Brom.
No, that's what I'm saying, but that obviously that one at the time. So
I think as well as obviously collecting West Brom shirts, a lot of kit men back when Dad worked in football, and likewise now they'll swap shirts with other kit men and just help sort of like make their collection, which is why there's obviously the Man United full-hand shirt.
Well. Yeah.
I think there was obviously a Preston North End shirt signed by Tom Finney, although obviously not from Tom Finney's era, but I'm guessing when West Brom played Preston, he'd got a Preston shirt and Tom Finney was at the game, and Dad never missed a chance of like, oh, I'll get his autograph and get him to sign it.
And the one that, again, we'll talk like in a second, the one that caught my eye was the unusual one with the 555 logo, which I think is probably, we think probably Far East. Do you know anything about that shirt, Claire or Alison?
I don't. Dad squirreled things away that much. It's like it was a surprise to us sometimes when we opened the boxes and we're like, oh, he's got, what's this? And yeah, I don't really know much about that shirt. I don't know whether you do, Al.
No, I mean, I don't know about it myself, but Dad also, in the job he did, he had to be very, very methodical. And when we were going through the boxes, there was bits of paper with sort of notes on where the shirts were from, why he'd kept it. He kept sort of like little just scrappy notes.
Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah, absolutely. On these cards. So
sort of documenting everything, which was great for us because then
your favourite shirts in the collection, your favourite shirts, have you think we'll love that one, the yellow and green, or looking at the catalogue and see over 100 lots, and there's red, there's greens, there's yellows, there's blues, there's whites, there's goalkeeper shirts as well. I mean, obviously I admire certain vintage guys, so I love the sort of early stuff. So any favourites amongst the collection?
I like the vintage yellow and green ones. I think they're super classic, aren't they? And when you actually look at the shirts, and they're sort of, each stripe is individually sewn, and the quality of the shirts back then is just remarkable, really. So yeah, I think they're my favourite, definitely.
I'm with you on that one.
Yeah. What about you, Alison?
Yeah, I've got to agree that obviously the shirts from the 60s, 70s, even sort of going into the 80s, the quality of them, obviously compared to today's shirts, but today's shirts are based on a lot of other technology, breathable and other bits and pieces. But I would say, do I have a favourite?
Too many to choose from.
Probably, yeah. The different shirts for different reasons.
Not a shirt, but I do like the changing football as well.
See, that's a real rare find, I have to say. I mean, I've never seen it before. We've photographed it, obviously. So just listening, we've got a mitre ball that changes colour, obviously, when it's nice and warm. Like, yesterday I was down in the Midlands, it's 34 degrees. I come home last night to Edinburgh, it was 16. So, I went from the ball would have went from obviously glowing white down in the Midlands to orange, obviously, for the winter game. So, yeah, no, it's a real rarity, that one. And I'm going to see how that does at the auction. So, and when did you know about it?
We wrote to Mitre asking them about it, and sadly we didn't get a reply.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah, it would have been nice to have got some detail. Hopefully they'll be aware of it. We'll try again, and hopefully they'll see it in the auction. But it was a regular to see it in the fridge at work to get it to go orange so we could photograph it.
Yeah, excellent.
Well, if any listeners know about it, it's a Mitre Delta Mirage is the type of ball, I think. So if you know anyone from Eastern, do get in touch with this sort of thing. But
It
also,
was obviously meant for in the winter, wasn't it? When it gave, if the snow came, that rather than changing the ball, the match ball itself changed colour.
well, absolutely.
Great idea, but it never actually caught on. I'm sure there's a reason for it, but still
Yeah.
fantastic technology and just a great item.
You know, it'd been quite good for a handball in the area, just in case, you know,
Yeah.
turned white sort of thing. So we, you know a bit of VAR back in the day type thing. So, and also there's a couple of historic shots in there. The first goal scored in the Premier League. You mentioned that one to the other day, Alison. That's in the auction as well.
Yeah, there's a Lee Marshall shirt, which again, Dad with his keen eye. Lee scored for the Albion in their first home game in the Premier League. Fortunately, they did actually lose 3-1, I think it was, to Leeds.
We won't dwell on that bit.
But Lee was obviously the first West Brom player to score a goal for West Brom in the Premier League. So again, Dad kept hold of the shirt post-match, got Lee to sign it. It's just that little bit of, not only is it sort of obviously Albion shirt, but the story behind it and the iconicness of it being worn by the player to score the first goal in the Premier League.
And I think, you know, I'm not a baggy. I support a Scottish team, but, you know, catalogue the collection, you forget who played for the Albion. You know, some fantastic players, you know, going through the, you know, both obviously young and old. Derek McInnes, obviously, recently, obviously, with me being a Celtic fan, obviously him being the Hearts manager. And of course, then he played for West Brom. Cyril Regis, of course, Curtis Davies, good player, being also in there. So Robert Enshaw, of course, he was a great fan favourite. And as you mentioned, obviously, you know, the Nigerian, what you've got his name.
Kanu.
Kanu,
Yeah.
yes.
Don't forget the other Scottish legend, David, on the other side.
Oh, listen, I know Willie Johnson's there as well.
Willie Johnson.
Yeah,
oh,
absolutely.
fantastic player.
Alison and Claire, thank you for taking the time to chat to us about your dad and his wonderful collection. Some fascinating insights into the world of the kit man. The Dave Matthews collection will be sold on the 9th of June. We have over 100 lots going under the hammer. All the details at our website, buds.com. Thank you again. Lovely to chat to you.